Hate employee reviews. For those who've been hanging around with me for years, you already know this. The issue for me is reviews rarely are practical for getting better performance from your team members. Too often, I see managers and employees dread reviews. So the question I like to ask is, what can we do to make the review process more useful? The answer I came up with is let's stop reviewing and let's start coaching. So too often reviews are around salary increases. When the topic employee reviews comes up, I often hear comments like, I wonder how big my pay increase is going to be. The result of this is rarely do people interact with the review. Instead, they're just waiting to see how much more money they're going to make for the next year. Doesn't it make sense that if your managers prepare reviews, an honest conversation about performance is the result? If you want to see that and still want to review your team members, separate the process from the payroll increase conversation. That way, you'll have a chance at least to talk about performance and have that conversation heard. So, here's a problem I see with reviews. They're backwards looking. You know that once something happens in the past, it's done. So we want to focus on what we want to see tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. There's nothing you can do about the past. If you think about it, focusing on what went wrong likely leads to more things going wrong. You get what you focus your conversations on. I want to focus on my conversation on what is going well and how we can build on our own successes. We'll always have improvement areas our team members should focus on. And for those, we need to focus on how to manage the improvements we want. But the problem with reviews is they often focus on the negative and what you're doing wrong. You can probably tell I'm not a big fan of improving weaknesses. However, there are times this is appropriate. I can also tell you that focusing on weaknesses will just move your performance from bad to maybe up to mediocre. Is not going to move you to world class. Instead, don't you want world class in your company? That only comes when you focus on improving your strengths. So why don't you focus on what you can to improve strengths and hopefully have people on your team with a diverse skill set where all the needed skills live inside your company? I used to only focus on improving weaknesses when I first got into business. It took me almost 20 years before I learned that I was running the wrong script. When I started focusing on what was going well, our performance as a team skyrocketed. Without looking at what was working, I would have missed some of the best improvements our company ever had. I don't want you to copy my mistakes and wait 20 years before you start focusing on your strengths. So let's think about performance coaching instead. Instead of reviews, I want you to think about coaching. A review is judgmental, coaching is forward-looking and looks to build on strengths. About 25 years ago, I had the pleasure of watching Andre Agassi trying out a new tennis coach. The practices were open, and anyone could just wander over and watch. I found the coaching fascinating. Agassi's coach wasn't trying to fix his problems, although there weren't many of those anyhow. Instead, he was focusing on strategy and how Andre could use his strengths to get even better. Doesn't that sound like a much better way to improve performance? So let's stop beating our team members over the head and let's start focusing on how they can become world class. That's where performance coaching comes in. Performance coaching focuses on the future and what we can do better. To learn more about performing coaches, click on the link in our show notes and get our free ebook on how to do performance coaching in your company. The other thing I want you to focus on are the success factors for the job. This means that when you are coaching, you want to focus your conversation. What you are measuring for successes. Most of the time, they'll be on the road to success as little things here and there. If not, you might have to spend more time having a serious conversation about whether your team member is right for your company. So here are some things you can do to make your conversations with your team members more useful. Number one, stop doing reviews and start doing performance coaching. Number two, make sure you've written down no more than 5 success factors for each job you have. The success factor should be what has to happen for you to be happy with the work your team member is doing. And remember to inspect and adapt for the work that's being done. You inspect the work that's doing, and then you adapt and you make changes so it continues to get better. That's what you would like to see that's different. So here's the thing about success factors. Success factors are the things that make you successful in your business. It's what people need to do to be successful in the job they're doing. It's not a laundry list of stuff they need to be doing. It only needs to be 3 to 5 things that they focus on and you focus on. And if they're doing those 3 to 5 things well, you've got a pretty good employee. In fact, you probably got a great employee. If the 3 or 5 things need some coaching along the way, well, that's just normal. And if those 3 to 5 things are underwater and they're not being done well, that's where we start having the conversations about what your team member needs to do to make their job and their experience in your company become better for them to stay. So I would love to have a conversation with you about performance coaching is. So feel free contacting me at jpatrick@stage2planning.com to set up a time for us to talk. In the meantime, if you're not ready to talk, download our free ebook on the performance coaching process. Even if performance coaching is something you're not ready for yet, you'll probably get at least one good idea from it. And while you're at it, scroll down, let me know what you think about the idea of performance coaching in your company. Hey, this is Josh Patrick. You're at The Sustainable Business. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope to see you back here really soon.